Ladies and gentlemen, the goal in your life is not to figure out how to be comfortable in your mental prisons, but to realize that you have the keys to set yourself free. Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. It's Tim Shurr, and today, we have another legend in the house. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Dr. Nido Qubein is here. Nido, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Tim. Always a pleasure being with you.
Oh, thank you. This is just extraordinary. So everybody, Dr. Nido Qubein is a very special human being. He had showed up in this country with $50 in his pocket and ended up just climbing through the ranks, and now hangs out, in a boardroom with billion-dollar companies. He's the president of High Point University. He's written a gazillion books, and he's been featured so many times. He's the recipient of some of the highest national awards ever given, including the Distinguished Americans Award that have also been given to Howard Schultz of Starbucks and Colin Powell and Oprah Winfrey. And Dr. Qubein is just extraordinary. Citizen of the Year, Philanthropist of the Year, just an amazing guy. So let's start jumping into his brilliant mind and see what makes him tick. So, Nido, what would you say is the secret to success?
Well, I'm not sure there is a secret to success, Tim. If it were, we'd all can it up and sell it for everybody in the world. But there is a system for success. There is a methodology. There's a mindset. So let me speak about that. You have to have a growth mindset. You can't be fixed in your own ways. You have to be agile. You have to be flexible. You also have to be resilient. Success is not for people who are afraid of failure. You have to make the difference between productive failures and unproductive successes. So if you fail and you learn from it, that's a productive failure. It makes you stronger and better. Like this COVID-19, we're all so worried about this COVID-19 and on merit and for good reason, of course. But we all could come out of it stronger, wiser, better than ever before. And if you succeed and you don't know what caused that success, you can't replicate it. You don't know the way, you can't replicate it. So I think there are lots of things that cause success. Mindset is number one. Attitude, all of that, positive thinking, all of that is number one. Number two, of course, is relevance. You cannot be successful in an ever-changing, highly competitive world if you are not relevant. You as a person, your product, your service, your relationship. Here's the thing, Tim, relevance is not defined by the sender, by the seller. It is always defined by the receiver, by the buyer. In other words, what's relevance for one may not be relevant for another. So it's not enough to say, I render value, my company has value, my services have value, because that value may or may not be of great relevance to the person whom you choose to serve. So relevance is a big one. Ask yourself, am I relevant? Who am I relevant to and for? How do I know I'm relevant? Is my relevance sustainable? And so on. And I think number three is focus. Every successful person I've ever met in my life has this power of focus. They know not just to prioritize, that's part of focus, but to really be focused on what I call the primary. Everything you do in life, you have a primary, you have a secondary. You have to always say, what is the primary in this particular decision I'm making, or in this particular problem that I'm solving? The primary means the fundamental thing you're trying to solve. If I solve that, I can solve everything else. And the secondary means the effect of it or the side effect of it. So if you really understand the microcosmic essence for the issue that you're solving, you're going to become a master at your trade. So that's what I mean by focus, being absolutely focused. So focus, for example, says, you can't, I mean, I can make some distinctions here, like focus between, make a distinction between having skill and knowledge of time management or skill and knowledge of energy management. You see right there, what you're focused on makes all the difference in the world. If you focus on time management, you'll read every book, attend every seminar. You could be the walking, talking expert of the world on time management and still be irrelevant and still have absolutely minimal impact in life and minimal influence on other people. But if you focus on energy management, you will not choose to invest your energy in anything that doesn't bring impact and influence. Of course, I can elaborate on all this, but this is a summary. And the last one I'd give you, and there's a dozen of them, but the last one I'd give you is this: relational capital. You cannot succeed without having relational capital. In other words, you must know how to build bridges of understanding with other people. Come on, no person is an island. If you don't know how to build great relationships with people, they can't advocate you, they can't partner with you, they can't help you. So these are really important principles about success. Notice I didn't say you have to be good at what you do, because that's part of relevance. I didn't say you have to get up early in the morning and work hard, because that's part of focus. And you see what I'm saying. Yeah. And so there is no secret for success. People who come out of poor backgrounds like I did can succeed, and people who come from enormous wealth and prosperity can also succeed, or they can all fail. There is a system. It's called fundamentals. If you follow the fundamentals in your life that are worthy and worthwhile, you will do well. In every business I've ever been in, Tim, I've been in retail, Great Harvest Bread Company. I've been in banking, helped start a bank, American Bank and Trust. I've been in consulting and publishing and speaking. And now I'm president of a university that I took from this size to this size, and quality and reputation. How did I succeed in all these different sectors? It's not really intelligence. I'd like to tell you that. It's not only hard work. It'd be easier for me to tell you that. It is an adherence to. It is a dogged focus on fundamentals. If you focus on the fundamentals that cause success, create success, sustain success in any business, regardless who you are, you can attain it.
Wow. Nido, that's one of the best answers I've ever heard. That is, people talk about being brilliant in the basics, but it's not about, the fundamentals that you just listed, it's not basic, it's profound, it's powerful, yet you've described it in a way that seems so simple that anybody can do this. And that's really, I love the idea of having a system instead of a secret for success, which is something that people hope they discover, and then all of a sudden it makes all their dreams come true and they don't have to do anything. You're talking about having a simple yet powerful, profound system where you apply these fundamentals of always be learning and be relevant, and make sure that your relevancy comes from the people that you're serving, and not just what, if I think that I'm relevant, it's very different than if my customers think I'm relevant, right? And powerful focus, energy management, relational capital. That last one is so important. I used to try to do everything on my own, either because I would have limiting beliefs that I didn't have enough money to hire somebody, or that they were going to let me down, or they weren't going to be able to, they were going to say they were going to help and then they wouldn't. So I had all these limiting beliefs sabotaging me. My ego got in the way. Well, I'm the one that needs to do this, right? And so I've gotten past that. When I turned 50 years old, I started looking at life a lot differently, and thought, I'm only going to do stuff with people now. I'm only going to create things with other people and partner and really focus on relationships being my capital. And so I love that you shared that one last, because it's so powerful and so important.
Well, together, Tim, together we're better, right? I think it was Helen Keller who said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. It's true. And part of the whole thing about success is change. If you can't deal with change in a productive, meaningful, profitable, purposeful way, then you're going to have some challenges, because life is ever changing. I like to say that for the timid, change is frightening. For the comfortable, change is threatening. But for the confident, change is opportunity. Yeah. And the question is, where does confidence come from? It comes from knowledge, skill, experience, right? When you are confident, then you have competence. And competence leads to a capacity to deal with change. And if you can deal with change, like the change we're going through at the moment in our country, in our world, if you can deal with change, you're a stronger and a better person. And by the way, your team will be more likely to follow you because you exude that. It isn't about charisma. It's about confidence that's truly based in competence, not overconfidence, but confidence that spells out leadership in a way that says a leader can create capacity in other people. Isn't that what leadership really is all about? To create capacity in other people. It isn't about some transactional thing that you do all day, managing processes. It's about this big transformational thing that you do every day, planting seeds of greatness in the minds, hearts, and souls of those whom you choose to lead and those who choose to follow you. That's really what leadership is. And so to create capacity, you must constantly be dealing with change in a productive way. I mean, these are things that are practical, pragmatic, right? Everything I talk about from personal experience in my own life or personal experience I learned through the lives of others. It isn't something I read in a book or attended a seminar. It's the real stuff, which is why it works. And it doesn't always work in the most polished of ways. It doesn't look as slick as someone's beautiful PowerPoint, but look, effort can only go so far. It's results we're after. Results rule. You know, we don't get rewarded in life based on our promises. We get rewarded based on our performance. So ultimately, it's how you create better things for all those concerned that makes you a powerful person and makes you, therefore, a successful person.
Outstanding. So, you know, I love how you said that you're not getting this stuff out of just books. It's really the school of hard knocks, right? And learning as you go along and failing forward, right? And looking at failure as feedback, and therefore it's growth opportunity. And so always looking for the opportunity. It doesn't matter what shows up. What matters is how you show up. And if you show up with an attitude of learning and what's the silver lining and how are we going to be able to use this to our advantage, you know, then just knowing that it's going to work out in some beautiful way. The people who think like that are the ones who find that it works out for them in some beautiful way. It's like a miracle. So as you were going along, did you have a mentor or a few or somebody that, you know, kind of stands out in your mind that really helped you, and why did you choose that person to be your mentor?
Well, Tim, I have had many in my life. I've had heroes, models, and mentors, and they serve different purposes. Heroes are people maybe I have admired, but have never really met in person necessarily. Models are people that I really wanted to, if not emulate, at least learn from specifically and continually. And mentors are people you go to for exploratory discussions, for getting some judgment on some of your thoughts and some of your actions. And I've had them all in my life. I have sought them out without ever being a pest to any of them. I do believe in the words of William Barclay, always receive without forgetting, always give without remembering. And so I've never, you know, said to someone, hey, can I take you to lunch? I'll buy you lunch. That seems so remedial to me. I've rather said to someone, I'm always available for you to be of help any way I can. And if I have a question, is it okay for me to call you and ask you that question? I promise to keep it short and to the point. And I promise to do it at a time that's convenient for you. And so my greatest mentor in my life was probably my mother. So my dad died when I was 6 years of age, turning point in my life.
Yeah.
And my mother had 5 kids, and she had only 4th grade education. She had to find a job to make money to feed us and clothe us. She became a seamstress, making clothing for people. And she taught me some of the greatest principles in my life. For example, you want to be great, you have to hang around great people. Come on. You want to be successful, hang around successful people. Look, your circle of influence defines precisely who you are. So in other words, if I said to you, who are the 5 people you spend the most time with, I know exactly who Tim is, right? Based on the people he hangs around with. He chooses to hang around those people. And so my mother would say, who you spend time with is who you become. Powerful insight. If you want to become better, if you want to improve your lot in life, find people whose lot in life is better than yours and learn from them. And then she'd say, you know, what you choose is what you get. So quit blaming everybody and whining about stuff. You made that choice. right? You married that person. You accepted that job. You took that assignment. So now accept it, modify, correct, learn, expand, whatever it is you have to do, but don't assume that the grass is greener on the other side, because it often is not. And so that's my mentorship, man. And she would say, how you succeed, not if, not when, but how, sorry, not how you succeed, how you change is how you succeed. In other words, your capacity to be flexible and nimble and to be, to understand that school is never out for the pro, that's how you're going to succeed. And look, Tim, success without significance is meaningless. Success is measured by fame, fortune. Significance is measured by your faith, your family, and your friends. And so you can have all the money in the world, all the success, all the fame, but if your health is not good, if you don't have enough friends, if you don't feel like you love yourself and you're cool just being with you and you feel good about it, something is missing in that picture. And so my mentors have taught me those things. Now, I have mentors that some are formal, some are informal, some are intense, some are occasional. Like Colin Powell would be one of my heroes. I know General Powell. I've talked with him, had him on campus. I've visited with him. We're good friends. He's on my board at High Point University. And so that's a hero. I look up to him. I listen to him. I learn from him. I interviewed him, as we're doing here today. And that's one kind of person. But a mentor could be someone in business whom you know. Maybe nobody knows who they are except the friends or people in that community, but you have access to them and you can learn from them. And you could have as many mentors as you want. One in this sector, one in this sector, one is that sector. Here's the deal about mentors. It's not so much whether you have them or not. It's more whether you're open to learning from the feedback. So many people, when you try to help them, like you, I've coached so many people over the years, one-on-one, in a group setting, lots of CEOs. And my least favorite, which is why coaching is always so draining, my least favorite, they'd be paying me a lot of money to just talk with me for an hour. And you'd be giving them an idea. They'll say, I know that. Or yeah, I'm doing that. And you go, time out. Instead of saying, I know that, say, let me figure out how to improve that. Because if you know it, it's like someone buying your book, Tim, and saying, I read your book and, I'm familiar with the content. Well, dude, if you're familiar with the content, how come you're not doing it at the highest level of excellence, right? And so mentorship is about openness. It's about a desire to learn. And when people see that in you, they respond very favorably. If, on the other hand, they think you're trying to suck their blood or just use them as a conduit for some achievement, you would lose all sense of advocacy and you'd lose all sense of collegiality and togetherness, right? So that's the point I think about mentorship. But I've had him in my life. I couldn't have done it without him. I have him in my life now. I may be the boss. I may be the president. I may be the chairman of a company. Be assured I can be mentored by the person on the front line just as much as the person who's the CEO, largest company in America, because everybody has a sense of wisdom. And our job is to tap into that wisdom. And sometimes the simplest people you'll ever meet have the greatest depth of wisdom that somehow we've overlooked.
Yeah. That is so good. I love the distinctions that you make. Every time you share something, you have a distinction between heroes and role models and mentors. I love that. I love these distinctions. You've put a lot of thought into this, a lot of time into this. And I'm so happy that you had such an extraordinary mom to be able to help and instill these values in you. And she was right, and you've gone out there and you've made the world a better place as a result. And now you're in a position where you're installing these values into thousands and thousands of students, college students. And that is just exactly where you should be. I mean, that's just fantastic how you've caused this and created this and co-created this with God. And I mean, it's really amazing. So, you had mentioned,
Tim, thank you for all of that. I appreciate you saying that. Let me make a point about distinctions. And I think it's an important, you caught something very important, which is I always think like that. The question is why? so many people think superficially, right? They think at a level that denies vertical thinking, right? So if you just think on the surface, what happens there is that you see the obvious. You don't dig deeper. You don't have the capacity to be introspectively wise. The way to be introspectively wise is to create within your brain the capacity to look at issues 360 and to look at issues down deep. And that's called vertical thinking versus horizontal thinking. Now, the best people I know, the best leaders I know have diagonal thinking, my terminology, right? So maybe I can defend that to some academic, but diagonal thinking. And that means I can see things horizontally and I can see things vertically and I can see them diagonally. In other words, I can see the interrelationship between the two. So very often I say, here's a problem, and someone gives you a quick answer. And it'll be a correct answer, but it will be an incomplete answer. Incomplete in the sense there could have been much more intensity in the analytics of that answer. And the only way you're going to get to a microcosmic essence of a point, which would make you a terrific coach, makes you an excellent leader, makes you a person who can lead a meeting and have people admire what you're doing, because you're stretching people's brains, you're taking them to a perspective they haven't automatically thought about. When that happens, you are likely, back to your question about success, you're likely to have greater success, right? Because people say, I want to be with this Tim guy because he thinks differently. He takes my mind to a different plateau. And so distinctions between points is one way you do that. When you force yourself to say, what is the opposite of this? Or what is a better way to do that? Or how can I do that and then some? When you start thinking like that, you can say, this is a cup. That's horizontal thinking. But what if we began to look at this as an art object? What if we began to look at this as a serving utensil and so on? Your brain goes, whoa, like this. And that's what leads to innovation. What's the difference between creativity and innovation? Creativity is about doing things differently. Innovation is about doing things better. The only way you can do things better is to fundamentally transform the way you think, to have diagnostics in your analytics. And when you do that, you're really ahead of the crowd.
So you just did it again, with your definition. I just love it. Your definition of creativity versus innovation, right? And I love that. I haven't heard it that way before. And I think that's excellent. I do a lot of programs on using adversity as a strength, right? Adversity and really about how you want to get around people that think differently than you, right? You want to get around other people who come from different cultures and different races and different places in the world and who have a completely different viewpoint than you, so that you can get more pieces of the puzzle and put them together in a way that is that shows you a bigger way of looking at life. And you just pointed it out. When you're around other people who think like you all the time, a cup is just a cup. But when you look at when you're talking to other people, they're like, that's not a cup. You could flip it upside down. You could cut it and open it up. You could do a lot of things with it. That's when you continue to learn. And like you said, leaders are always learning. They're always in school. I love that. Yeah. So what is it like to go from, just working your way up to the ranks and then suddenly finding yourself in these boardrooms with, billion-dollar companies? Do the conversations change? People are people, no matter what they have, what their title is. But is there something different, or that happens that most people wouldn't be aware of?
Of course. Think of it this way. If you have to make a decision right now, whether you want to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, that's easy, right? You follow your preferences. You make that decision. If you have coffee and you don't like it, you can always switch to tea. And if you don't like either one, the consequences do not define a large risk. On the other hand, when you're sitting on the board of Truist, TRUIST, that's the name of the financial institution, the sixth largest in the United States of America, $460 billion in assets, 60,000 employees, is the merger of equal between BB&T and SunTrust corporations. I've been on that board for 30 years.
Wow.
This is an enormous corporation, right? And the decisions are not about coffee or tea. The decisions are in the billions of dollars. A violation of a regulation could spell disaster. A failure in technology could spell the end of your business. A direction that is not sound and fully vetted could take away any competitive advantage you have. On and on the story can go. So the level of risk rises. And when the level of risk rises, so must your level of thought processes, right? You have to think about things differently, and you have to follow some kind of a risk management methodology. Let me give you mine that I share with my own team. So this is the way I make every decision in terms of risk management. I'm taking a lot of risks this fall. At Hype University, we're bringing back, 8,000 people to campus, and we're in the midst of COVID-19. But my students and parents overwhelmingly want to come back. And so we've had to figure out a way to bring them back. Is it 100% foolproof? No. Most of life cannot be guaranteed in any fashion. That's the essence of acknowledgement about the meaning of life. If you can always be sure of the consequences, you can always be sure of the results, life would be easy. And so here's my risk management process. What is the best thing that can happen as a result of taking this action, whatever the action is? What is the most likely thing to happen as a result of taking this action? What is the worst thing that can happen as a result of taking this action? If the most likely thing to happen will get you closer to your goals, that's good. And if you're willing to deal with the worst thing that can happen, you go for it. But if the most likely thing to happen will not get you closer to your goals, why are you even considering it? And if you can't deal with the worst thing that can happen, you should run and run fast. So for example, if you invest money in a real estate project, and if you were to lose all your money in that project, and even any liability connected with it, if you could deal with that, it does not completely destroy your life, then you might go for it. But if that's not the case, if it's going to absolutely, wipe you off the face of this earth, it would not be the smartest thing for you to do. It'll be smarter for you to do something that's a little less risky. I cannot tell you how many times in my life that little formula I developed saved me in my own existence. Now, you can argue with me about the definition of what's the worst thing that can happen and what does it mean to deal with it and so on, because COVID-19, we've had 150,000 people die in America. Well, one death is one too many. We all accept that. But you have to look at things from a holistic point of view too. What is the option of closing everything down? How about mental health issues? How about disasters in the economy? How about, all of those things that can take place as well. And there are no easy answers. As I said, there are no easy decisions. That's what leadership is that you have to know how to do that. So on boardrooms of significant companies like Truist or like Lazy Boy that I'm on the board, or like nThrive, healthcare company, all of those, you're in a different zone. First of all, your colleagues on the board are learned and experienced, accomplished everyone. Second, you've got a big responsibility to protect the interests of shareholders, protect the legacy and reputation of the corporation, and protect the safety and security of all those who do business with you, including your employees and your customers. These are mega requirements. So you got to prepare thoughtfully in advance. You have to be responsible in all of your deliberations. You have to be, you have to leave your ego outside the door. This isn't about showing off. This is about making the right decisions. You have to listen and dialogue and debate and discuss in ways that bring forth fruition that's healthy for one and all. Now, that's the responsibility factor. Here's some rewards too. It's unbelievable. You're hanging around brilliant people, and you're getting to know some people who are leaders in their own industries. And through them, you're going to meet so many other people, and they're going to advocate you and recommend you and feed your heart and soul. It is the greatest thing that can happen. Now, I'm on public board companies, harder to get on, more responsibility. And by the way, you get paid a little bit. But for most of us, consultants or speakers, we give up one day of speaking. It's going to be more expensive for us than any fee we get from a corporation. So you don't do it for that. Life, Tim, is like a jigsaw puzzle. You have many pieces of your puzzle, right? It's like you have the physical capital, your health. You have financial capital, your money and resources. You have your relational capital. I talked about that, your connection, your people. You have your educational capital, your formal learning in college, the learning that you give your audience as you are doing today. And you have your reputational capital too. What people think of you is important, right? It doesn't mean it should disrupt your whole life, but you shouldn't go around life saying, I could care less what anyone thinks. Of course I care what other people think. Otherwise, how can I build bridges? How can I have partnerships? How can we have win-win relationships? You never should have a win-lose relationship or a lose-win relationship. If I do business with you, I win, you lose, you'll never do business with me again. That takes away everything I talked about earlier out the window. You cannot succeed cumulatively behaving like that. Your beliefs lead to your behaviors. Your behaviors lead to the results in your life. So the greatest lesson for all of us is to dissect and understand our beliefs. What is it I really believe in? I believe in personal initiative, personally. I believe in small government. I believe in rewarding people who do good work, right? Those who do the best work deserve the best rewards. I also believe in helping my fellow human beings, whether they're incapable, socially, economically, whatever. I believe I have a responsibility to my brothers and sisters. I believe that my faith in God guides everything that I do in life. I believe in liberty and justice, right? I also believe in hard work, and I believe in doing everything you're expected to do and then some. Those are my beliefs. Those beliefs guide my behaviors, and somehow, some way, miraculously, Tim, those behaviors are rewarded in a society that appreciates performance and appreciate good results.
So good. Nido, I could literally just listen to you all day, every day. So, our mutual friend, Jim Cathcart, he said that, you are the most extraordinary people that he's ever met. And I completely see why. So, yeah. So, I had a question. You were talking about leadership, and I get this question a lot. I do mesmerizing leadership programs, and so I'm curious what your take is. What happens when you come to a leader and maybe they're your boss, and but they have a poor attitude, or they come across arrogant or condescending, or they already know it all and they don't want feedback? How do you grab their attention? Or maybe you find somebody who brought their ego with them into the boardroom. How do people deal with that?
Well, first of all, that happens all the time. You're describing a reality of life. We can all name people like that. I think several things. Number one, acknowledge someone's spirit first. In other words, don't be quick to judge somebody else. If you're hungry, Tim, I'm willing to give you some food. And if you're thirsty, I'm willing to give you some drink. And if your need is affirmation, I'll give you affirmation. If you need encouragement, I'll give you encouragement. So what is it that person needs, right? You got to find out what is it they really need. I just told you, we all believe. I mean, we all behave based on our beliefs. So that person must be behaving in a way consistent with their beliefs. Maybe their belief is, if I can show you that I'm the smartest guy you ever met, you'll be able to follow me. Okay, so make sure they know that you think that they are very, very smart. Give them what they need to survive. Give them what they need to breathe. Give them the oxygen that they need. Without violating your own values, find a way that is consistent with your values, but give them that. That's called acknowledgement, encouragement. Second, the least you owe anybody is the truth. The least we owe anybody is the truth. The question is, how do you deliver the truth? You just go out to their face and say, you're dumb, or, you're an egotistical maniac? Or do you find another way of doing it? And you can't really do that with anyone until and unless you've earned their trust first. So trust is at the heart of every relationship. If I don't trust you, then I'm not willing to really get engaged with you in any serious way. So you have to make sure that you build some trust with that person first before you can go criticizing their behavior. Now, maybe you can't do it, but maybe there is somebody else closer to them with whom they have great trust, and you can work it, through that channel. Maybe you even write them an anonymous letter that's loving and kind and gentle and genteel, but brings to their attention those issues. Maybe there's a suggestion box, in your work area that you can put something in it. You owe them the truth, because if they do damage to you or to this meeting, they could be doing damage to a lot of other meetings. So you're not doing your job if you don't bring their attention to it. Question is, how do you do it? I think respect and civility should be at the heart of everything that we do. I can disagree with you, Tim, agreeably. I don't have to put you down to tell you that I don't agree with what you've said. I think we can talk about it in a loving and kind way. And so how do you do that? I just gave you some ideas. Look, there are cases, it doesn't work. There are cases like that. There are people that they just don't want to hear you. They've got so many issues themselves. Maybe their frame of reference has been so pregnant with experiences that when they softened a little bit, they got slammed. And they believe the only way to do this is to just ram it through every single time. Those individuals ought to go to, seriously, they ought to go to some kind of transformational seminars, right? Where you go into some self-discovery, you dissect, you peel the onion, and you find out, why do I react the way I do? Why do I respond in this way? Here's what I've discovered. Hostility is always related to fear. If a person is hostile towards you, they're afraid of something. They're afraid you're after their job. They're afraid you seem smarter to other people than they are. They're afraid that somehow that board's going to get rid of them and hire you instead. They're afraid of something. So if you can find out what they're afraid of and work slowly towards that, you'd be a genius.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly right. So you're looking for how you can do it, and you kill them with kindness, right? And then figure out what the fear is, what that limiting belief is, and then work that angle. I mean, that's really sage advice. So, Nido, you've had such, an amazing life and so many experiences. And so what's one of the coolest adventures that you've ever been able to be a part of?
Well, I've been a part of a lot of things, as you know, in business and in life. And I would say currently I'm the president of High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. I went to High Point as an undergrad, by the way, and I was the incoming chairman of the board of trustees. And the school wasn't doing well. The school was 1,400 students in enrollment, very poorly ranked according to U.S. News World Report. Had 91 acres of land, landlocked, you couldn't grow, had no financial resources to speak of at all, and had only 3 academic schools. So the future of that school was at best in question. And they asked me to come in and see if we can, fix it. I agreed. I mean, I had a thriving speaking and coaching career at the time, but sometimes you're called to do something. And regardless what your faith is, I really believe in that inner voice that says to you, you need to do this. And this may not seem at the front end as meaningful, as valuable, as rewarding as what you're doing at the moment. So I accepted the challenge, thinking I'll do it for a couple of years and go back. Here I am, I'm in my 16th year.
Wow.
But it's been the most incredible journey ever. And I'm going to tell you why. And number one, just on the transactional side, 91 acres, could never grow. We're at 530 acres. We grew. We bought tons of land. We did all kinds of stuff. 3 academic schools, we went to 9 academic schools. We went from offering BA and BS to giving doctoral degrees, 550 doctoral students as I speak to you today. We went from ranked very poorly in U.S. News Report to #1 among best colleges in the South, according to U.S. News World and Report, according to Princeton Review, the best 380 colleges in America. On I can tell you the enormous stuff that we've done. But, you know, I built 112 buildings on campus. We've invested more than $1 billion. We are, knock on wood, we are enormously successful, fully enrolled, growing by leaps and bounds. But that's not what's important. The 2 most important words in the English language are influence and impact. What's really important is every day, we are planting seeds of greatness in the minds, hearts, and souls of our students. What's important is that we dare to shout it from the mountaintop that Hype University is a God, family, and country school. And if you don't like that, don't come here. There are lots of other schools you can go to, but we're a God, family, and country school. What's important is when we say we're the premier life skills university. So when you come to High Point, you will learn inside the classroom, yes, important as that is, but you will also be prepared for the world as it is going to be, not as it is, not as it was. In other words, pragmatic, practical application of coming out of High Point and doing your thing. 97% of our students, 97+% of our students get a job or go to graduate school of their choice within 6 months of graduation. National average is 83%. So we dare to put up front the realities of life. Higher education should be academic in the classroom, but it should be absolutely application oriented outside the classroom. In other words, what you learn in the classroom has to be actualized in your life. If it's not, it won't work. Here's why, Tim. Knowledge does not equal understanding. You can have all the knowledge in the world, make straight A's, and still be a dingaling in terms of doing it. The key is actualization. So I came up with this term that some people like. I call it appreciated excellence. In other words, you're supposed to be excellent. We all agree on that. If you're not excellent, you shouldn't get the best rewards in your business. But that's not enough. You need appreciated excellence. In other words, the people you do business with should fully appreciate the value, the relevance, the excellence that you make happen in their life. Not in your life, not in your bank account, but in their life. That's the essence of it all. And so at High Point, we're doing that in big supply. And how do I know that? Parents give us about $20 million a year. Students pay relatively high fee to come to High Point willingly. We opened school this fall, and we said, should we have to close school in the middle like we did last spring because of COVID-19 and go online? We cannot refund housing to you. I can't afford it. I have to make payroll and so on. People agreed to that. Some reluctantly, but they agreed to that. And that's contrary to national standards or behavior. The family sends their first child, then the second, then the third. They have events for us in their homes. They talk about, I mean, it's unbelievable. Appreciated excellence. So you ask me, what is the coolest thing? The coolest thing, my friend, is when you create lasting impact in the lives of others. That's significance. So for generations to come, if I can get a student at Hype University to say, I was touched by my experience at High Point, I can go back and say this stemmed on that campus. As you know, Tim, I teach all the freshmen. So 1,500 freshmen take my President's Life Skills Seminar. So I get them in semester 1, and I talk about things like life management, energy management, time management. I talk about things like stewardship. You know, to whom much is given, much is required. Not just about money, but time, energy, wisdom, all of it, mentorship. We talk about things like leadership, money, fiscal literacy, how to make it, how to keep it, how to invest it, how to give it, how to share it. So that's the coolest thing. When you lay your head on your pillow at night, knowing that your day's work really made other people's lives better, nothing is better than that. All the awards in the world, all the money in the world, all the recognition in the world, all of that, my friend, is passing. What's lasting is knowing wholeheartedly that you cared so much to give your very best. And when you gave your very best, it truly created appreciate excellence in the lives of others.
Oh. That's so good. That is so good. Oh my gosh. That's why I said before, you know, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, right? Because you're touching lives in ways that go way beyond what you could do in a keynote or even consulting with a company, because you're taking these students who are wide-eyed and ears open and coachable and ready to learn, and you're planting these seeds of greatness inside of them every single day. And that is just, you know, unbelievable. I mean, you're exactly, I think that it would be great for everybody to have that, that philanthropic attitude, not just of writing a check, but you are really, you know, taking all this wisdom that it's taken you a lifetime to collect and then just sharing it and putting it into as many people as you possibly can, and going from 1,400 students to 8,000. I mean, that is a pretty significant result. I mean, that's exciting. And I'm sure it's going to just continue to grow for years and decades to come because they have you at the helm. So it's just outstanding. So one final question for you. With all the wisdom that you know now, if you could go back in time and talk to 6-year-old Nido, what advice would you give him?
Well, I would follow my mother's advice, I think. And I would say, you know, hang around the right people, be sure to make good choices, because good choices lead to good habits, right? So,
Yes.
so, you know, bad habits are easy to develop. They're just hard to live with. Good habits are hard to develop, but they're easy to live with. I would say, don't be scared of change, because change is going to happen all your life. In fact, the more successful you are, the more you're going to have to change. And, you know, don't be scared of failure. Don't answer people's hostility with more hostility. Be always civil, go the second mile. I would say forgive. Maybe you don't forget, but forgive. I would say, you know, learn to do everything you're supposed to do and then some. This is a principle I teach, and then some. I do it every day of my life, Tim. I do all my work in the office. And just before I leave the office, I'll do one more thing. Every single day, I call or write 4 people. It's a disciplined approach to my life. It's habituation. And I would say, be accepting, right? Just be accepting. You know, as a speaker, I speak to all these audiences. I spoke 7,500 times all over the world. And you know that from your own experience. Be 1,000 people in the audience. There's always 2 or 3 of them who are going to write naughty things about you in their, you know, in their evaluation. And maybe it's a reflection on them more than you. Early in my life, that hurt me, broke my heart. I focused on those 3 instead of focusing on the 500 who said you're really great. Yeah. But later, you know, I developed the attitude of acceptance. I accept you the way you are. And while I may not fully understand why you feel this way, I do understand that you have the right to feel this way. And maybe, just maybe, I can learn from that. So, you know, all the education in the world is important, but if you don't interpret it in a way that you can actualize it, then you just have information. And you know the danger about that. If all you have is information, people will use you and discard you. Think Google. If all you have is knowledge, people call upon you only when they need you. Think your dentist. But if what you have is wisdom, people will respect you and beat a path to your door to learn from you. And so the Bible says, you know, in all of your searching, search for more wisdom.
Amen to that. So good. Dr. Nido Qubein. Nido, this has been absolutely extraordinary. That I love how we finished up with trade in the judgment for acceptance. And even if someone's pushing your buttons, you know, instead of emotionally reacting, pause, take a breath, and then think, you know, oh, how might that person be feeling? What's going on inside of them that might cause them to be this way? And can I show up with compassion or kindness or playfulness instead of showing up with anger, which only creates more hostility? So I think that's just beautiful.
Pleasure being with you, my friend. I hope your life continues to be both successful and significant, and I hope I'll get to see you in person soon.
Thank you so much. You're amazing, and I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, take care. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh, Dr. Nido Qubein, this is absolutely extraordinary. You need to listen to this over and over. Share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, share it with your leadership teams, and make sure that you have pen and paper ready, because Nido shared so many valuable tips, so many golden nuggets. It's just absolutely extraordinary. Nido, this has been one of my favorite interviews of all time. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. And for everybody that was listening, thank you so much for being with us as well. And make today mesmerizing, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Hey, would you like more free tips on how to be a mesmerizing leader? Then check out mesmerizingleadership.com. And also hang out with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim Shurr. Thanks so much, and make your day a sure success. Hey, it's Tim Shurr. Would you like to learn my best secrets for how to be mesmerizing? Then head over to www.survivingtothriving.me. That's www.survivingtothriving.me. I'll see you there.